Welcome back, boys and girls. It's another week of Full Circle. I'm your host, Odo Harmon Jr. You can find me at Odo Harmon Jr. on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all your favorite social medias.
I'm Jared Fradette. You can find me at all the same places at TuneVelo. Now, we have an exciting show for you today. We'll be talking about a new anime, cells at work, and what kind of cells we want to be.
We'll be talking about flat earthers and why the world is round.
It's round. It's definitely round.
It is. We have facts.
But first and foremost, we'll be talking about video games. Are they better or worse than before? Is it nostalgia, or is it actual advancements in technology?
So this has been an argument. So video games, as you know, in terms of arts, is a rather new form of media.
Right.
Versus most arts have been around since the 1800s, 1900s, dawn of time, what have you.
Right.
Video games have only been around since the 60s and 70s. And even then, it's a stretch to call them video games by today's standards.
But Pong, you can go up and down.
Yeah, it's virtual table tennis. It's amazing.
Boop.
If you haven't played Pong, you're not a real gamer. You're just a poser. Shame on you.
Only real gamers remember Pong.
Yeah, but I'll say around the 2000s, when video games became household names and staples, and we started to see 3D environments and games, just did the natural process of evolving, people started to be like, back in my day, we had the Donkey Kong and the arcade cabinets and arcades, and we had our Super Nintendos and Nintendo's on this confounded blast processor and 3D graphics and environments to explore, and now all games are crap. There used to be substance.
Right? I don't need all the... I feel right, where we're going with the Bill Cosby thing here. It's like, I love the video games with the bips and the boops and the bloops.
But seriously, so it's a serious conversation that needs to be, discussed. In the same way, are old movies better? I personally don't think so, just because you're in black and white and, it takes you 5 hours to prove your point. I digress. This is about video games. So we're going to look at this from a intellectual standpoint, breaking it down.
Break down the facts.
So first and foremost, when games first came out, and we're going to start around the Super Nintendo era, because I'll say that's when games... Anything beyond that, I can argue their goods and merits. But Super Nintendo, let's call Super Nintendo, Sega,
Dreamcast,
Dreamcast, 64, PS1. We're gonna look in that era as like the then,
okay.
And we'll look at the now. So definitely in the Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis era, games were good. One, because we never had them before. Mm-hmm. Two, every franchise that has ever been was starting, so we didn't have years and years of...
It wasn't the 47th white male protagonist with a scruffy beard. It was just the white male protagonist with a mustache.
Or, we couldn't get fatigued from, this is the first time we're shooting things in the face and not the 212th time we're shooting things in the face.
We're not desensitized yet.
Yeah, we're not... this goes from all genres, from platformers... to adventure games, to RPGs, definitely RPGs.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So let's think of games like Super Mario World. There were 3 Marios before it, Mario 1, 2, and 3 collectively. But they each advanced because of, technology really held them back from what the games they could be. And that's why I'm starting the Super Nintendo, because that's why I feel like, games were able to realize a complete vision, even though they haven't hit 3D yet.
Right, right.
And so we were playing these games, and they were wonderful, and they were masterful, but also they were very limited in the sense that games today come out 2, 3, 4 months. Even we're in the slow era of games now, which I thought while we talk about this, but so Spider-Man's releasing next month, but that's kind of it. This month we had games like Octopath Traveler. Mm-hmm. Well, we're in August now, but last month, but we've had probably a steady stream of a game or two in terms of big releases a month. Indie games come out ad nauseum.
Right.
But back then, you had 1, 2, 3 big releases a year. And as a company, when you're only making 1, 2, 3 products a year, you can really, focus on that and make it a quality product. And also, just the fact that something's new. People say a lot of games come out too much these days, and they all suck because they're rushed. But I think back, was Bubsy a good game?
Not so much.
Was the Cool Spot from 7-Up a good game?
You know what? No, but the Noid from Domino's was an amazing game.
Was it really?
I really enjoyed it. It was really hard. I only got to floor 20 of like a 100-floor building.
Oh man! Also, they just made games long. They really did. I'll give them that. They did make games longer back then, but that was because again, you're only making like
copy paste, harder, copy paste, harder, copy paste, harder.
I mean, now I'm okay with a 15, 10, 12-hour game because God, I have like 30 I need to beat.
Right? Just playing. Next one. Play it.
Back then, like a 10-hour game was like, why?
Yeah. I mean, they're basically just infinite games back then. Just however long you want to turn the console on and keep playing, just go. Because there's nothing between here and the next year.
Yeah, so I guess at this point, it sounds like I've been arguing the merit of old games. But here's the flip side of that coin. They
were incredibly hard. Like, ridiculously incredibly hard.
Not a challenge of skill, but like a test of patience.
Just right. It's like, we complain about a lot of games hand holding these days, but I think this is a little predating the argument. But like The Legend of Zelda. Okay, go. What am I doing? Why am I doing? Yeah.
The third dungeon you have to complete after the first two dungeons. It has a secret interest that no one told you about ever. You're supposed to blow up this wall. Why'd you blow up a wall? Why wouldn't you blow up a wall? There's about 230 consecutive panes right here, and on one of them there needs to be a wall blown up at a very specific pixel. And by God, if you're 1 inch to the right, it will not blow up.
Not a chance. Blast damage, blast radius aren't a thing. It's just a directed thing.
It's like, and you got confused. Why didn't you call the Nintendo hotline? You fool. This is back when making calls actually cost real money.
I forgot about that. That's kind of funny. Yes.
And like games like Sonic, where it's not necessarily hard, but it's like you have 2 lives, 3 if you count 0. It's up to you to collect lives as you go on, and if you get to the last level and you've only have that 1 life and you just happen to die,
back
sucks
to the beginning.
To suck.
Ugh.
So investment in technology, we could save games, which I will argue is the number 1 contributor to why games are easier.
Right? Like, so games are better now. You can save them. Fact 1.
And because think about it, a hard segment in a game still takes challenge. Still challenging. You still have to get skill, but it's like I can start 10 minutes from the hard part and not the very beginning of the game, working my way back up.
Ugh. Especially, could you imagine if you couldn't save now, but you had to sit through cutscenes still? Every time Robotnik comes up, well, Sonic, let me tell you my plan. Oh, please don't. Please don't.
So here's the argument why games are better now. Continued. I mean, advancements in technology, graphics, more detailed environments. We can actually have full storytelling and voice acting. The music's a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And these things can really change the mood. Music, lighting, and atmosphere, never fool yourself into thinking they cannot affect how good a game can become from them.
Oh, yes. Completely.
I damn near argue it's just important as the story and the gameplay.
I mean, it's pretty much like any cinegraphic movie. I mean, video games are really almost more about storytelling now than about gaming in a way. Like, they pull you in immersion, and if you're not in, if you're not in that mood, if you're not playing, if you don't believe in the world, you kind of question your whole time. What am I doing here? Why am I doing this?
Yeah, and there are old games like Mario 64, Super Mario World that control phenomenally. Falafel.
Waffle? What are we doing?
I don't know. They control well.
They have good control?
Yes.
Yes.
And they still hold up to this day. I can play Mario 64 and it's like he jumps how I want him to do, he stops him down I want him to do. But most games, honestly, we just put up with bad controls. We really did.
Yeah.
And we put up with them because we had nothing else. We compensated for the bad controls by becoming... We adjusted to the horribleness of it to become good.
We made excuses for it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, so what if jumping doesn't really work? Or what if there's a 5-second lag between me and the controller? I just have to know that even though it's off screen, I should jump now because eventually there's a spike coming up. Boop.
So here's the real kicker. You think this argument is that games are better now, which kind of truthfully they just are. Like things improve. But here is where we fail. When games became really mainstream and really expected, we started to get copy and paste clones of everything. And anything that was popular started to get more and more diluted sequels. This is not true for every franchise, but let's just take a modern one, Halo.
Ugh.
Everyone loved Halo. Everyone loved Halo 2. Everyone looked forward to Halo 3. Halo went away. Halo 4 came out. Halo 5 came out. And I honestly...
They're all the same game.
More or less.
All the same game.
And I like to call
Red versus Blue has more of a plot and compelling storyline than the actual Halo game. Just yeah. Stick it in, twist it.
I like to call it Madden syndrome because, Madden comes out every year and it's just the same game with a fresher coat of paint. And a lot of newer games, because of technology, we can just pop them out and they make money. That's why they keep doing it. They just keep going to Call of Duty, Call of Duty 2, Call of Duty 3. Well, Call of Duty 3 Modern Warfare really was a leap up in advancement. But then from there, we kind of we have Call of Duty Black Ops and Modern Warfare. They come out parallel to each other in the same year, and they're just like, people keep buying it.
I want to harp here on Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed 1, 2, Brotherhood, 3. Okay, but now just every single version. No, not even 3. Like, I stopped at Brotherhood. Like, because then it just became, like, monotonous gibberish. Like, what are we doing here? The controls didn't get any better. In fact, I think they got worse. The graphics got worse because they just started churning out games. Like...
bugs.
And bugs. How the Skyrim bugs. Anywho. But...
Yeah. Hey, we have games like Skyrim. Yeah, it's because of technology, it's a never-ending, ever-growing world.
And I guess
that kind of occasionally, collapses on itself.
We can't really blame them, right? Because they like getting money, and apparently people like giving them money. So it's a nice mutual relationship. But for more of us who are into quality games, this would not be a game now that is better.
Yeah. So, Jared, would you say, even though games are better, have we seen a lapse in quality? Or it's just, a mathematical thing, since there's just more games out there, there's just a bigger pool of ain't shit games, I will call them.
I believe it's just a mathematical, fact. Of the, back then, of the 3 games that released, 2 were really great, 66% pass. Of the 500 games released this year, there's 3 that are good. So, which is still better than 2. It is, right? Follow me here. 3 bigger than 2, but
I will say, based off
your numbers here.
Yeah, my numbers, that out of those 500 games that came out this year, at least 200 were good. That's maybe 250. I dare say half.
That's still 40 to 50 versus my original 60 back then. But like we said, just looking at the raw numbers, 250 good games is a heck of a lot better than 2 good games.
It is.
So those are the cold hard facts. Speaking of cold hard facts, flat earthers seem to ignore them. All of them.
All right, let me say this right here and right now. If you believe the world is flat, it is your right to do so. You're also incredibly wrong.
Mm-hmm.
This is just you empirically, factually, anatomically, a lot of words that end with "ly." Wrong.
Metaphysically, psychiatrically,
and reality and fantasy. Oh, that one to end with T. Well, you got me there. They proved it.
Right.
I was wrong about something, therefore they must be right.
Oh my god. Okay, fact one. Let's actually break this down, because I'm sure most of you who listen believe the Earth is round, but you're probably wondering why flat earthers think the Earth is flat. First things first, believe it or not, they don't believe in gravity. They don't think it's real. Odell hangs his head in shame.
Another thing, you can not believe in gravity. That is your right. You can believe in Santa Claus. Does not mean that he exists. It does though, gravity.
Right?
But Jared, I can break gravity. Look at me. I am. If I can.
Right?
I'm mocking people now. I digress.
Mocking people he might actually know.
Okay, I'll stop.
No, but right, okay. So they don't believe in gravity because they think it's because it's a basic lack of understanding of physics, that you can actually overcome a force. They don't understand gravity as a force that can be overcome. And not only can it be overcome, me and Odell push back and forth, arm wrestling, and one of us wins, but it's also, the weakest fundamental, property that ever existed. The electromagnetic force, the thing that prevents me from passing through objects, are electrons repelling each other. That's far more powerful than gravity.
Yes. Another reason why most people who or flat earthers, there it is, and don't believe in the round earth model that we have, is, I say, basic sentence structure. I mean, literally childhood understanding of words and how they work. For example, if you ask somebody or walk up to a child and say, can you walk upside down?
That's ridiculous.
Yes, the answer is immediately no. I cannot just magically, see a loop, circle of some sort and just continue to walk. So I understand if the earth is round, that means people are upside down, which technically
in space there is no direction, so you're ridiculous.
Yeah, there is no orientation, there is no up and down. But yes, people will be, I mean, if you have to visualize while you're at some point on the earth here, that there are people on the opposite point. But then factors like rotation, gravity, pull really come to play here. Again, like Jared said, it's a lack in understanding of physics. Do you remember the carnival ride? Or if you've been to a carnival, maybe a music park, they roller coasters work on this principle, but this ride specifically, it spins really fast with enough force. Is that based off of centripetal motion, or is
that's centripetal force?
Yes. It will push you back on the wall. You will fly up the moving panel, and you will stick. Depending if you're bold enough, you can even start to Spider-Man crawl along the wall.
Don't do that. The ride operator will get mad at you and shut down the ride.
Yes.
But it's theoretically possible.
Yes. And you know why you can do it? Because of physics and force and motion. If, for those who don't know, the Earth spins incredibly fast.
Like 2,000 miles an hour. That's just around.
Yeah, and that's the same concept. You're spinning so fast.
However, we should say it's the gravity that keeps you down, mostly.
It is.
Like, it's gravity that keeps you down.
It is.
But another force they don't believe in is that the Earth has a dipole magnet. Like, pretty much 99.9% of all magnets. They think, for some reason, it has just one...
The singular pole.
The pole. This one, I don't understand how they think it works, but...
Well, for those who don't know, for a magnetic field to work, you need a positive and negative pole.
And it goes... It's a field.
And that's how you create
it's what generates our ionosphere. It's what protects us from solar radiation. It's why colonizing Mars isn't possible. It's not really shielded. But
and for those who don't know, so magnets, the things that stick to your refrigerator, the things that the really powerful ones, if you get them stuck together, you have to
really work to get them apart.
Again, forces can be broken. Mm-hmm. They're not omnipotent. Their rules are, though.
Let's see. What else do they believe in specifically with... They again, despite the fact that we're Earth, we're flat, the sun, the moon, and all celestial bodies are round and above us. Oh, to correct for gravity, the Earth and everything above it, for some reason, is just moving up. The Earth is just moving up constantly, and that's what keeps us down.
Yeah. So let's just say...
I was just going to say, but the sun and the moon and the stars above us, they also move up for some reason. I don't know.
I was going to go on a tirade, but for time's sake, I was going to be like, there's experiments you can actually perform at home.
Right? There's these, well, I don't know if you can do them at home, right? The pendulum test. A free moving swinging pendulum will rotate over time.
Yeah, you can create homemade pendulums, but I was going to say more or less, the triangle with measuring the sticks in the distance.
Oh, right. Well... You kind of need to do that over the United States. Right? So what I was referring to is on a globe, and you can still do this, travel with your friends. You can make 3 consecutive 90-degree right turns and end back at your starting place, which is only possible on a globe. Likewise, as the Babylonians and Egyptians and basically everybody else knew before us, as Odell is planning for an upcoming trip, daylight is different at different places.
You beat me to it. I was actually gonna.
Spoiler.
I'll be at Gamescom coming up pretty recently in Germany. Woo. And we are we're all north of the equator. Mm-hmm. So the day and night cycle should more or less be the same, but it's not because of the Earth's tilt and rotation. The sun over there sets around 9 o'clock. Even if you're thinking different time zones, no, that doesn't matter because that's why time zones were created, to adjust for that. The sun sets in the west, so the most daylight that you'll see in the country is usually observed on the west coast. But even then, the sun still sets around 7 o'clock p.m.
Mm-hmm. Well, here. but it's a whole 2 hours greater over there. And this was true even when I went to London a couple months ago. Like, I'm going around, I'm like, oh, I'm so tired, but why is the sun still up? Like, isn't it 8 o'clock? Oof.
And before you say is it because they're further north? Which again, if we're on a flat Earth, it wouldn't matter how much further north it would be. It only matters because the Earth is again tilted and round. That when you're further north and at an angle, it creates these things. Because on flat Earth, if further north wouldn't mean anything, it would just like the sun would just cascade evenly.
Right. This is the other thing that I don't understand. Because this is the flat earthers quote unquote evidence that the Earth is flat. Is that that the horizon doesn't exist? Because as that's literally how the sun sets. It goes over the horizon, and we can't see it anymore. And so, despite the fact that their evidence is, oh, look at the ship disappeared over the horizon. If I get a telescope, I can still see it. I'm like, well, at night then, why don't you just get a telescope out and look at the sun at night? Just ask them that. Just ask them that. Don't bother with all these other arguments that they will not understand because they've rejected the basic premise of gravity. Just ask them to, with a high-powered telescope, look for the sun at night. Or new TV show idea. No, new TV show idea.
All right.
Okay. It's like Amazing Race style. We've up front give 12 teams $1 million to find the edge of the Earth, the Arctic ice wall that they think exists. Give them $1 million, right? And if they win, they get $10 million, which I think is probably not enough.
But they can't also run off the money.
Right.
And here's another thing, because some people are probably thinking, aren't y'all a geek podcast? Yes, we are. This is
hardcore geek.
Yeah. So, people have models of why flat Earth works, but in order for flat Earth to work, other forces and things no longer work nor can be explained. So I get it. Yes, flat Earth works under these conditions, but then you magically make other things not work. Whereas in the round Earth theory, everything already works and makes sense, like your body.
Mm-hmm.
It works and makes sense. And you know what works and makes sense in your body? Cells. Cells are at work. Like the new anime, Cells at Work.
This is a brand new anime, at least here in America. On Crunchyroll, there's only like 4 episodes.
Well, no, Crunchyroll updates, as it comes out. It's
in Japan?
Yeah, so yeah, it's new.
Brand new anime.
Yeah.
So what it is, it follows primarily the immune system in the body. It shows your cells at work. There's kind of 2 main characters, the red blood cell, who she was always getting lost. Oh, this isn't where the lungs are. And the white blood cell, neutrophil, as he fights primarily the first line of defense against bacteria.
All right, and just to clarify, neutrophil is not his name. Like, he is a white blood cell that is a neutrophil because there are different types of white blood cells. And the red blood cell does not have a name because this show is also really entirely accurate. So they don't even give the cells names to be cute. No, they just are what they are.
Neutrophil 1146 reporting. Like, that's all they are. Just.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure Jared can... I'll let Jared go into this, but when I said it's educated, no, it is very scientifically accurate.
As someone who works in a lab investigating the immunity around cancer and cancer cells, I've learned more from this anime than I have in any of my lab meetings. Right? It's like, because in lab meetings, they always kind of talk generally like, yeah, we want to look at this. I'm like, why? Why is this important? But in this anime, it's like, oh, I need to look at the naive T cells to go to talk to the dendritic cells that was informed by the macrophage of the type of thing that was invading the body. It's
yes.
Like, oh, we really okay.
And when they introduce the cells thing, it actually gives you a description, not a vague, a very accurate and understandable description of what it does. And I really thought I had to pause and read it, but I was like, no, when they introduce them, they actually audibly tell you its role.
It is a key part of the show.
And they build upon the roles, like the platelets. It doesn't just introduce them. It's like, this is what they do. It's like, no, here are the platelets again.
We see the cells at work.
Yes.
It's like all
constantly.
This, right? In like episode 2, there's a wound, and it's like, how are we going to stop this? What's happening? We're all falling into this giant hole. Don't worry. The platelets are coming, and they're these like cute little kids. Like,
no, and emphasis on the cute. Like they are adorable.
I'm like, aw. In a non-creepy way. I wish you were my kid.
So, we highly recommend you check out this new anime. Like, there's only 4, maybe 5 episodes deep at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But we were thinking, what cells would we want to be in the body?
Right? Okay, so I'm kind of torn. I feel okay if I was just alternate universe and I was immediately a different cell, like I was a cell type right now. I will have to be honest. I'd probably be the dendritic cell. Like, he educates and activates the naive T cells. Like, oh look, it's okay. Look. See, this is what B influenza looks like, and this is how you fight it. You got it. You good? Okay, good. Like I
encouraging
think,
the cells through education and empowerment.
However, I'd love to be macrophage. Okay, so this is kind of largely aesthetic. So she's kind of I don't know, like maidenly or a maid.
She's dressed as like a maid.
She's better than maid. She's like Victorian, like
Fair Lady.
Yeah, My Fair Lady, like upper echelon. She's like so she shows up late and because of the way cells work. But she comes with this gigantic hatchet, and she's just like, "Oh my, look at all this!" and just like sweeps around, and just like kills everything. And then, like in the very introduction, like she's like hard at work, and like, "Oh, so sweet," and then she goes to do like, "Oh, look at the sun," and her hands like just dripped in blood. I'm like, I love this aesthetic. Like she clears out dead cells as well. Like one of the early threats is like, "Hey, you have to be you need to be a useful T cell, or you're gonna get sent to the spleen, where the macrophage will chop you up and use your parts." So I just love that aesthetic, and I think it's hilarious. So I think I would be a dendritic cell, but I would want to be a macrophage.
So at first I was thinking, I like, the white blood cells, they fight germs. Mm-hmm. Or no, they kill germs. Mm-hmm. They do not fight. They destroy them. Mm-hmm. But I was like, I'm really not a knife stabby kind of guy in the animated period. I'm not just like attack, go. Mm-hmm. I'm not like a dendritic cell. Like, I don't think I'll be the dressed proper communicating cell going around that until the body was hit with influenza, flu, for those who don't know. Mm-hmm. And I love how the viruses we already talked about how they worked, just how they work. Mm-hmm.
They possess and take over your regular Joe cell types.
Yeah, and I imagine they would be like zombies essentially. Mm-hmm. But so during the influenza fight, during the second stage, guess who comes? The B cell that produces antibodies.
Woo!
Which in the anime was portrayed as a little cool guy wearing. I like this outfit too. It was nice and blue.
He's like a little mechanic.
Yeah, and he was like, "Don't worry, guys, I'm here. I developed antibodies," and pulls out like a giant bazooka. It's like, poof, poof, poof. And he's like, "Don't worry, I have things that aid us." He's like throwing them out and helping. And so he's like a tinkerer, and I think that's cool. But the fun thing, when the virus mutates and he like uses a weapon, he's like, "Oh, guys, I'm out of here. It doesn't work. So I have to develop new antibodies. Bye."
Bye. Right?
And he doesn't get the credit he's due, which I feel like is a thing that happens to me in real life. And
he's a real relatable character.
Like, he pretty much said, no one's giving him credit, but literally, if he was not there, the victory would not be possible.
It's true. The killer T cells can only do so much. And that was only, of course, after dendritic cell activated naive T cell. And he was able to proliferate with this new knowledge of his. The show is so educational. It's, like, insanely educational. It's hilarious.
It's action-packed. It's cute. It has a dark sense of humor. Educational again.
It satisfies like bloody gore.
And for those who thinking, yes, it is like Osmosis Jones, but it's not, because it's actually more. First of all, it's scientifically accurate,
right?
Which is just impressive, and it's entertaining. So check it out.
So that is the end of our show for this week. These are the kind of cells that we would be. I'll just say I'll be a macrophage.
I would be the B cell.
There you go.
You now know, if you thought the Earth was flat, you now know it's round. If you already thought it was round, we just gave you more information of why it's round. And if you still think it's flat, then there is no hope for you. Please enjoy the rest of your life. And don't fall off, I guess.
And try not to fall off. Yeah. And then we talked about how games are probably statistically actually getting better. Just if you look at the facts. Overall. So, for Full Circle, I'm Jared Fradette. You can find me at ToonVelo.
And as always, I'm Odo Harmon Jr. You can follow me at Odo Harmon Jr. And please follow the show on Instagram and Twitter at FC Podcast. Until next week, guys.